Next up, we have New York City restaurant owners ban Governor Cuomo from entering. Let me say, the New York City restaurant owners are banning Governor Cuomo from entering their restaurants. So listen to this, podcast listeners. Struggling restaurant owners citywide are permanently banning New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo from setting foot into their establishments. And that's because Governor Cuomo has shut down indoor dining all the way through Christmas and all the way through New Year's. I mean, if you're a restaurant owner, and if you know anything about restaurants, and if you know anything about the way that you kind of live your own life, when do you go into restaurants? During the holidays. And when do you have a cocktail? During the holidays and also during New Year's. I mean, without question, and you'd like to go out and do those things. Well, those are important times for restaurant owners because they rely on that revenue to carry them through the bad months in the winter, like January and February and March, which tend to be relatively slow. So they really rely on the holidays to carry them through with that revenue. Doesn't matter. New York City Governor Andrew Cuomo has shut down indoor dining, so the restaurant owners are saying, fine, you're not coming to our restaurants anyway, including when the indoor dining ban is lifted. And that also includes outdoor dining, because you can still dine outdoors in New York at these restaurants, but they're saying, we're not going to serve Governor Cuomo. You aren't welcome. So half of New York City bars and restaurants may close for good due to the despotic pandemic rules by state leaders. 9 out of 10 restaurants in New York City can't pay the full rent because of these stupid policies. According to bar owner Larry Baird, he can eat at some crappy roadside diner outside of Albany, but he will not be served anywhere in New York City, known universally as the world's greatest dining destination. If he has to use the restroom, he can go pee on the street corner. That's what he wants anyway, right? This is according to Larry Bird. Of course, he's obviously being very sarcastic. Former lifelong Coney Island resident Val Torre said that he's finally moving to Florida. It's 70 degrees every day. My Coney Island childhood friends have all retired to Florida now. All the restaurants and bars are open, and the grannies are still living in Florida, according to former Coney Island resident. So many members of the Facebook group, New York City Restaurants, open applaud the executive order banning Cuomo from being served at New York City establishments. One member stated, completely schizophrenic behavior. How are they coming up with these rules is beyond any logical reason. And so here's CBS 2 in New York City. Here's CBS 2 in New York City. And they're talking about this ban. It's pretty funny, and here it is.
Well, indoor dining is now banned in New York City, and with the pending snowstorm suspending outdoor dining, restaurant owners and workers say they may not be able to hang on. They're calling for help.
So that actually wasn't the funny video. We have 3 videos total. The third one is the funny one of how New York City restaurants are using classic New York humor and New York City humor of fighting back. And so listen to the number of businesses that have closed in New York City. We have this clip also from CBS 2 in New York City. Here's the clip.
Nearly 6,000 businesses have already closed since the beginning of the pandemic, and just this week, more setbacks for those that remain open. Indoor dining has been suspended for at least 2 weeks, and due to the oncoming winter storm, so has outdoor dining on Wednesday. Some establishments, including the Carnegie Club in Midtown, have chosen to shut down temporarily and reopen once the pandemic is over. Others facing so many restrictions have given up and called it quits completely.
So the reason why we're playing that for you is because first, of course, the governor of New York shuts down indoor dining and says you have to eat outside. Of course, it's freezing cold outside. And then a snowstorm comes. And so then the restaurant owners are going, well, wait a minute. We can't do indoor dining because that's banned. We spent all this money outside for outdoor dining. But now we can't even have outdoor dining because you're telling us to remove all of our equipment because when it snows with a major snowstorm, these snow plows are going to come by and they're going to knock all of our equipment over it or destroy it, potentially. So they can't even do outdoor dining because of the idiocy of government. I mean, you wonder why so many people are leaving New York City. Apparently, it's in the hundreds of thousands of people who have permanently left New York City. And I know some will say, oh no, they will eventually move back. I'm not sure they will. I'm not sure these people will actually move back, because how many years do you think it will take for New York to return back to normal, to return back to the vibrant city that it once was? And this is largely due to not the pandemic, but to the governance, right? Between de Blasio and Cuomo, I mean, they're just a complete cluster. So how do the restaurants respond to the indoor dining ban and the outdoor disaster with the snowstorm? Well, one New York City restaurant decided to make fun of the indoor ban, and we have a clip on that, and here it is.
Excuse me, sir. Here's your pasta.
Thank you very much, sir.
Enjoy.
Some new video tonight of just a few restaurants in the city who mocked Governor Cuomo's indoor dining ban with meals outside during the storm. Employees at Trattoria Incontro in Astoria held a staff dinner al fresco, even proposing a toast as heavy snow fell Wednesday night. And they weren't alone. Patrizia's in Kips Bay hosted a curbside dinner for one with a few inches of snow on the ground. Always in the mood for pasta, even out in the snow. I don't know about you.
So that's the restaurant responding and mocking all of these ridiculous rules by serving food outside to the owners of the restaurant while it's snowing, snow on the ground. And here they are sitting outside, acting like they're really enjoying this while it's freezing outside, drinking wine and eating food, Italian food, just hysterically funny. Because that's the New York humor, right? You just make fun of how stupid government is and the everyday life that the government is making miserable unnecessarily. Because once again, podcast listeners, if you don't want to go out to a restaurant because you are so afraid and so terrified about getting COVID, then don't go. We've said this so many times in this podcast. Yet government doesn't seem to understand the fact that the average American knows the risks. They know all the risks. And if they think that the risk is too high for them to go inside of a restaurant or a bar, then once again, you do not have to go there. But that's not the way Democrats run things, right? Democrats like to have edicts. They have an edict. You must all shut down because we say so. And you must eat only outside in the 25-degree weather. And oh, by the way, now that it's snowing, move all of your stuff off of the sidewalk and off of the street because the plows are going to come through. And the plows are going to, just take out all of your equipment and all of your investment outside. It's just absurd. It's absurd. And so that's New York City restaurant owners ban Governor Cuomo from dining in their restaurants.